connection. Let the music move you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, boy howdy. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned in to the audio version and audio only, Simone, of Coffee Talk presented by Spotify. I had to look at the notes to make sure which show that I was doing. Ladies and gentlemen, if you know, you know. If you've seen the show yesterday, what had happened was with me and Evelyn was fantastic yesterday, January 19th. Yesterday was a very special episode, Simone, simply because that episode was a tribute to Dr. King. If you guys know, you know, yesterday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day was yesterday. It was a great day of rest. It was a great day of observation for Dr. King. Sadly, though, I didn't see a lot of like Martin Luther King stuff on social media. I think everybody was just wrapped up with the Miami Indiana game. And it's not to say that both teams are not good. It's not to say that football's not good. It's just, I just kind of feel a type of way when you don't really have it to where something important like Dr. King Day doesn't really get highly appreciated. So I guess it just leaves it up to us, our shows that we get to show and to express our dedication and our observation for Dr. King. Let me tell y'all something. Martin Luther King was very, very special to all of our lives. And I know it's the day after, it's January 20th. And January is moving like it got somewhere to go. Someone on the audience, I told people, I was telling Evelyn, like, January is going to be over, and 2026 is going to go by really, really fast, I think. But I just think a lot of people should just really make sure that they are in observation a little bit better, especially on social media. But like I said, we can't control what people do on social media. People are going to do what they're going to do on social media, and they're going to value things that are most important. But it is up to me here in our shows here in Atlanta to just really share out Dr. King. We did our tribute on what happened was podcast yesterday. We've got a great week for you guys for podcasting. Of course, we've got what happened was yesterday, coffee talk today, and then tomorrow, Wednesday, we're going to be doing K.L.P Aftermath, of course. I have to space out the shows, the times, and the shows that we're doing. Dr. King Day, we did the episode live. And then I went to the gym. Gym was packed. A lot of people was in there getting that workout in. I'm going to the gym today after the long hours today. So I am looking forward to just the remaining of January. But I do say to a lot of podcasters, if you are a podcaster that is listening to our shows, I hope you did your tribute. That's just something I like to do every year. Any form of show, whether it's K.L.P Aftermath, Coffee Talk, or what happened was, I've got to really show out observation day of days that are very, very important. So Dr. King was very special yesterday. And then so I went to church on Sunday, Simone and Hope. And church, shout out to Change Church, they did a tribute to Dr. King. We did the worship part, but I did not expect them to do a whole step, kind of a step kind of thing when it comes down to it. They did like a lateral step and dance, and then they had the choir singing. They did "We Gonna Be All Right" with Kendrick Lamar. But what they did was, of course, obviously they had to use their own lyrics. They just used the "We Gonna Be All Right" part, and then use their own lyrics, right? And when they used their own lyrics, it was very, very impactful because they did on the LED screens of Martin Luther King's speech, and they just did a whole thing. You guys, if you want to see it, I'm not sure. I think Change has it to where it's on their YouTube channel now, I think, but we also recorded it when I was at church, and then I added it as a beginning of what happened was. So if you can't find it on their YouTube channel, you can go to what happened was podcasts, available everywhere, every audio platform you get your podcast from, and also on our Instagram and Facebook as well. That's like the beginning part of the show, so you guys know what I'm talking about. It is really, really awesome. I nearly shed a tear because like it's just so important what Dr. King did to the culture, a civil rights activist fighting for equal rights for us in our community. It is really, really amazing. So I look forward to more things from Change Church. Shout out to them again. But I'm really, really looking forward to it. So you guys tuned in this morning. Hopefully everyone is up. You're listening to us in your car. There is no video version of this show. This show is audio only. So, you're in the car getting ready for work, getting ready to step back on Tuesday. Everybody, so today's Tuesday, but it's everybody's Monday because obviously yesterday, Dr. King Day, everybody was, well, I can't say everybody was off, right? I'm sure a lot of people still had to work on Dr. King Day. My offices were closed for Dr. King Day. We do close for Dr. King Day. We do close for my birthday, and we do close for Juneteenth. So that's just one of the federal holidays that we do close for along with the others. But today is Tuesday. Hopefully everybody is up, getting their coffee, getting their day started this morning. And I want to say real quick before we get to the topics and pass the mic around, um, we want to shout out our very, very thankfulness for Spotify for picking our show up and just helping us breach our show to a lot of audience on Spotify. Spotify is real easy to get. We have the premium tier because I listen to music heavily. I listen to music every chance I get. Obviously, I need the premium for gym sessions. I've got to have it. But if you guys can take a listen, we also are available on other audio platforms. But Spotify is our powerhouse for this show. So I look forward to our friendship and our connection and our partnership when it comes down to that as well. So I wanted to talk about what's going on this week, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Miami and Indiana's game. I don't have the stats right in front of me. I don't know who won or lost. It's very early for us, so I don't know. But we're going to talk about that on K.L.P Aftermath podcast. The Pits, let me tell you, the Pit is an ever-growing show, Simone and audience. The Pit is something that I'm watching. I watched episode 2. That show, I said it in What Had Happened Was podcast, and I will say it again on this show, and I said it on K.L.P Aftermath, Simone and Hope. I think The Pit is better than Grey's Anatomy. They really get to show us a lot. There's a scene in the show that I saw. It kind of freaked me out. And I'm kind of like a broken record because I talked about it on What Happened Was. But there was a scene in there where, a gentleman, he was celebrating 20 years of his anniversary with his wife. He went to the hospital because his swang was still hard after a couple hours. Now, to a lot of my fellas, I get it. Sometimes you got to take that sort of medicine or that Viagra or that special blue pill to get your little soldier back up to make it a wonderful night for your lady. But it is very, very scary if you have it to where it is enlarged for longer than it needs to be. And what they had to do, they had to drain the blood. So it was a big needle that they used in the show, but big needle went into this man's swang and to drain the blood. That freaked me the living hell out. It freaked me out. I just could not believe how freaked out I was. It was just something that I've never seen it happen before. Evelyn said that she saw it happen a few times because obviously she's in the healthcare field as well. Shout out to Evelyn. But it freaked me out. I could not tell you how bad it freaked me out where they had to use a needle and drain the blood off of this man's penis. It was very, very scary for me. I don't think I'm ever gonna take a pill because of that, because I'm scared of that. But it was a good show. Like I say, that episode was really, really good. I can't stress it enough, guys. Watch, please watch The Pit. It is so, so good. It is one of those things. It's just really, really stupidly good how good the show is. And speaking of what's good, kind of good, I guess. Apple has updated, if you didn't know already, your phones, your MacBooks, and your iPads, and even your Apple TV has been updated with iOS 26. And Simone and audience, I think I'm having mixed feelings about this. I think I am because I just don't know. I want to like it, and maybe I'll grow on it. I hope Apple does this upgrade fixing bugs because I upgraded my phone with iOS 26. And that is where you have the liquid glass now. And it looks good. I like it. It's different. It's different than what you're used to. But I'm also worried about the slowness of it because when I'm opening apps, I'm using my phone. I've noticed that it was a little bit buggy and slow. And I've noticed that with my phone. I noticed it with my MacBook. And I also noticed it with our Mac Mini here in the office. And it kind of worries me some because that is the newest thing that they've been preaching about. And if that doesn't work well, then that's going to be a big problem for everybody. So that doesn't hopefully that doesn't last that long, but it is one of those things that I just get very, very, very nervousome for when it comes down to it. But we'll wait and see what happens on that. Let me know. Comment below. What do you guys think about the latest update with the liquid glass? We want to hear from y'all for sure. And more news announcement on Coffee Talk. Like I say, we hope that everyone's getting their coffee of choice. You guys know I've got that nice chai latte here in the recording booth in the studio for Coffee Talk as we chit chat a little bit about some coffee news. Now, I'm switching gears a little bit on this show. And it's rare that I talk about GGC news. It's going to be rare that I do talk about GGC news because I am also affiliate, so I have to be careful. But I don't think I'd get in trouble for talking about this one thing, and then Simone, you want to talk about something else with GGC, and then move on to the next topic. But I wanted to give a shout out on Coffee Talk about GGC Athletics. Let me tell you why. This past weekend, I want to say it was Friday, they had their inaugural Hall of Fame ceremony. And let me just tell you guys something. That ceremony looked very nice. Fortunately, I couldn't be there because I had other ventures that was going on. My big friend, big buddy Matt Mahoney had asked me, will I be there? And I said no because I just had another engagement. But I wanted to congratulate GGC Athletics when it comes down to uh, starting something new. Right? I think the Hall of Fame for GGC is very new to them. I do think that from this first inaugural event, they're probably going to tweak some things. Again, I'm not judging because I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But based off photos and that, I think they're going to be tweaking some things for next year for the 2027 Hall of Fame. But I think this is a really, really good idea for athletics, especially for GGC. Again, we are semi-affiliate with GGC. I can't talk about everything GGC is going on this show, but some things I want to highlight, I will talk about it here on Coffee Talk, that inaugural season, that inaugural episode, that inaugural Hall of Fame, I think this is something that athletics needed to do. I wish they would have done this a few years earlier because I think every school's kind of dabbling into the Hall of Fame. But hey, better late than never is what I say, Simone. Right? I'm very excited for this because there are the three recipients. I know not personally, but I know, of course, Chase Hodges was a longtime tennis coach for GGC, won about 9 rings. So, of course, he has to be in the Hall of Fame this year. Kevin Confederak. I didn't see the pictures. I don't think he was there. Kevin Confederak, he's from a different country, so it's hard to get. And that's a lot of the athletes, right? A lot of the athletes, Simone and Hope, they all come from different countries, so it's hard to get them to come to this, especially now in today's climax, to get them to come to United States for one night. That is hard to do. But his work is never forgotten. Kevin Confederak did a lot of amazing things for the program in the tennis industry, career field of GGC to help get those 9 rings. And then you had Nikki Cook. Nikki Cook was softball, and let me tell you, and I know all the athletes because obviously we did GDN and I've done the cameras. Nikki Cook is a firecracker in a good way. Like she's I don't want to say she's small, but she's short, but she's fast, right? Based off what I can remember filming on the athletic softball side. So I'm very, very happy for her because I think she deserves it. Because she also gave GGC softball some good stats for the years that she played softball, she played ball. So congratulations to GGC Athletics. I can't wait to see what they do next year. I do hope, this is just my hope, that they add a little bit more people into the Hall of Fame. let's say instead of doing about 3 people, let's do about 5 people, right? You have a lot of people. We have a lot of coaches and past players and past athletes that could be in the Hall of Fame. And I think GGC Athletics, they're trying to go to that way of having all of their athletes be inducted to the Hall of Fame at some point. GGC, GDN, here's my vote. I also hope that you guys recognize students that work either in the athletic side and the GDN side. Now, I'm not saying that I should be in the Hall of Fame. That's so not what I'm saying because it's not about me. But I do think there are a lot of student workers that worked in athletics, past and present, that should be in the Hall of Fame as well. I can name quite a few. I think Ebony Liggins should be in the Hall of Fame. Myron, I never met him, but I've heard story. He should be in the Hall of Fame. I think my good buddy Chris Morales should be in the Hall of Fame at some point. Maybe not next year. Maybe not the next year after that. But at some point, I do think that GGC Athletics should recognize student workers towards their Hall of Fame. That's just my vote. It's just my hot take. Take it how you will. As a podcaster, it's my job to state my opinion on certain things. But very, very dope for GGC Athletics in their Hall of Fame. It looked really, really good, Simone.
Yeah, I also saw photos as well, Kennedy. When it comes down to Hall of Fame, it looked really, really spectacular. I've watched also GGC Athletics grow to greater heights. I personally didn't go to GGC as a college. I went to Emory, but when it comes down to an athletic program, it gets me excited for a university that is not old, right? You have a lot of different universities that existed for years and years and years and years and years and years. And not to say that GGC didn't exist for years and years and years and years, but I like the growth of it. I like how it's growing. I like that convocation center. I've seen photos. You sent me videos, Kennedy. I am happy about the Hall of Fame. The one thing that I'm happy about, though, because I've been to a lot of sporting events, because I've done sports analyzing for sporting events way back when before I turned into podcasting. I like the Convocation Center that they have built at GGC. I like the program. I've watched quite a few highlights, not only for our show, but just highlights in general when it comes down to uh, basketball, and that's it, right? I like all the other sports. I do. I like baseball, I like softball because I play softball, but I like basketball. I like the excitement for basketball. I like the hype for basketball. I like that GGC is growing to greater heights when it comes down to the basketball program. I honestly, hot take, think that GGC men's and women's basketball should be in a different conference. I know that's just a conversation. That's just my thought. I think it's time for them to move on to a different conference because I've seen their stats. They won a lot. They lost a lot, but they won a lot by astronomical numbers. And when you have a team like that you're going through and you've proven each and every game that you could be the best in your current conference, then maybe it's time to start thinking about a bigger conference. I understand that a lot of people, let's just say for an example, I don't know the coaches, I don't know them personally, don't really know their names, but I know that the coaches might feel a little bit nervous, a little bit, if they're switching conferences and they might be in a bigger bracket, right? It's kind of like the expression, Kennedy, small fish in a very large pond, right? So when you're switching over to a different conference, it gets kind of nervous. It gets kind of scary a little bit. But I think men's and women's GGC basketball can be in that the higher bracket of going to a bigger conference. And whatever that looks like, that is going to be skyrocket and that's going to be really, really good. I think, though, and because I've seen it, right? I've seen it at Georgia State as well, because I did sports recording and analyzing for them. They have, I think they're with Sunbelt Conference, right? If they, and I'm not saying that GGC, well, I don't know, GGC could try out for Sunbelt, but it's a little different because you got like the state universities, right? Georgia State, that's a bigger school than Georgia Gwinnett College. But let's say if GGC Basketball decides to go to, ACC or NCAA, right? Then I think, well, number one, I think NCAA should be there. They're both into a new conference. But if they were able to do that, that puts a stamp on not only in GGC's name, but they have it to where you can put the NCAA logo on the basketball court. And now that's generating some revenue. That's generating some money. That's generating interest with basketball. That could generate people going to these games because that's an NCAA basketball game, men's and women's, right? I hope that the coaches are thinking big picture along the way. I get it. This is GGC's first ever basketball season, so they don't know what they want until they really see the results of this year. I think they're going to go all the way. I think they're going to be number one in their league in their current conference. Not to, because we got Wood here in the studio, Kennedy. Not to jinx them, not to vote them out, but I think this is going to be very, very cool for them to have a stamp of approval when it comes down to that. And I think it's going to grow for not only Gwinnett County, but also Atlanta as a whole, right? Is saying that GGC men's and women's basketball is the quote unquote, and I'm using them as an analogy, this is the quote unquote, they are the underdog, right? Because you have, here in Atlanta alone, there's a lot of university. You got Georgia State, you got, I don't even want to count Emory basketball because they're not really that good, but Georgia State basketball, Georgia Southern basketball. And I know GGC just played College of Coastal Georgia, right? Let's see what else basketball teams you have. I think those are like the big ones that I can think of. There's a lot of schools here in university and in Atlanta alone, but I'm thinking big dogs. It would be cool to see Georgia State versus GGC. Boy, how well could that be? That would be something. The Panthers versus the Grizzlies, that might be something, right? What I would do, and now I'm just giving Kennedy, now I'm giving them $1 million worth an idea right here. Let's just say if you have it to where athletics contacts Georgia State's athletics and say, hey, we want to have a game against each other, a playful game. It doesn't count in conference. It doesn't count for anything. It's just a little friendly banter. Could you imagine how many people will come out to that game? How many tickets could you sell for GGC? How many media content that you can cover for that? I think is going to be tremendous. Right? And maybe coffee talk, we can talk about it because Kennedy, I know you talked about they tried to do podcasting way back when, and you were the first one ever. We're never gonna forget that, Kennedy. But anyway, a shout out to men's and women's basketball. Again, I love to see it. I love the growth. I think it generates a lot when it comes down to Gwinnett County as a whole. It's really, really amazing. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we hope that everyone stay warm. It is getting cooler, right? It was very interesting. I've got my friend that texted me because my friend stays in South Georgia, way South Georgia. I'm trying to convince him to come to Atlanta. Although the traffic is crazy, I'm trying to get him to come move up to Atlanta. And he got stuck in, he got snowed in, South Georgia. So I hope that everyone stay warm. Surprisingly, here in Atlanta, the last few days we had sunshine, which is fantastic. I love to see that we had sunshiny weather when it comes down to it. It is very, very, very good to see sunshine when it comes down to, just the weather and everything that it has to offer for sure. So, of course, I'm going to turn it over to Hope with her news before we wrap. Coffee Talk presented by Spotify. And we hope that everyone has their coffee. And we hope that everyone's having a safe commute to work. Hope?
Good morning, my loves. We hope everyone has started their morning off right. Get this, folks. Ariana Grande and Mac Miller were a celebrated musical couple in the late 2000s as their love for each other remained even after their split. Today, Mac Miller would have turned 36 years of age. The Pennsylvania rapper, singer, and producer extraordinaire is still sorely missed nearly 8 years later, due with his music and personality being a beacon of light for fans. While the days without him are a bit easier to get through, his presence will never leave. Ariana Grande can attest to that, revealing that her music journey took off after some empowering advice he gave her. In an episode of the Hollywood Reporter's Awards Chatter podcast last week, the pop and R&B singer shared that Mac inspired her to be her real self after a memorable run on Nickelodeon. She played Kat Valentine on the hit program Victorious, alongside Victoria Justice and Leon Thomas. Grande's airheaded portrayal of the red-haired character was a beloved part of the show. But Mac, as you'll hear, saw a lot more in her shortly after her TV career ended. Grande reveals she was struggling to get her musical career off the ground, unsure of what direction to go in for her debut record. My debut album took some time to figure out, because there was also a strange presence from Nickelodeon in my head at the beginning of what should this project be? That's when Mac stepped in to push her forward. I've never talked about this, but actually Malcolm, who you might know as Mac, encouraged me to be myself, and that it was okay to kind of shed that character and embrace my brown hair and make R&B influenced pop music, and separate and do the brave thing. In part, Mac's belief spawned a terrific debut album for Ariana. The 2013 record, Yours Truly, would debut at #1 per USA Today. Of course, the project houses The Way, their first collab and the beginning of their journey to a romantic partnership. Grande also reveals in that interview that she owed it to Miller to include him on the record as a thank you for his wisdom. That's also why I was so eager to ask him to be a part of it, not only because he was perfect for the song, but I also felt like I had him to thank for finding my sound. Miller and Grande would become one of the couples in the music industry, confirming their relationship in September 2016. They would split in May 2018, and it sadly led to Grande receiving a lot of backlash. Shortly after she announced their breakup, Mac would get into a drunk hit-and-run incident, crashing his car afterwards. The Pittsburgh native would pass in September 2018 from an accidental overdose. That resulted in the arrest and charges of 3 men who were found guilty of contributing to his death. Next on the show, Finesse 2 Times took issue with Young Thug and Gunna's relationship, while threatening to fight Offset in 2 videos online. Finesse 2 Times targeted both Young Thug and Offset in recent rants on social media that are circulating online. He referenced Thug while complaining about hypocritical rappers who take issue with snitching, despite hanging out with people who cooperate with authorities. Well, that will wrap our morning show, folks. Please be sure to share our episode with your loved ones. Good morning from our studios, and we hope everyone keeps it swanky. This has been Coffee Talk, presented by Spotify.
Turn it up. Feel the connection. Let the music move you.